All right. I'm here, everybody. Okay, let's get to this. Myself out of the way. Excellent. All right. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. How's it going? Are you doing well? I'm doing very, very good. Hopefully, this stream will be a little stable. My internet connection's not the greatest still, but yeah, for the most part, it's doing rather well. So, you know, I'm very happy today considering the good optimism we have for a possible vaccine. That'll be good. Yeah, I hopefully everything works out okay. I agree. I'm hoping that too. Let's see who else is in the chat. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Go. Oh no, that's okay, Fernando. Totally understand that, my friend. I started late. I started a bit late, so I'm sorry about that. My bad. Yeah, no, it's fine. I'm bored. Can we play Among Us? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ryan. We have a class. I got a class right now, my dude. I would love to play Among Us with you, but ooh, I'll get some of the boys to play Among Us at some point. That's not a problem. But not during class time, unfortunately. Maybe not another. I don't think I'll be able to cut into any more class time than what I did before. How do I join class? Well, I mean, you're more than welcome to just join this class. There actually is during class time right now, so you already have. You can still watch the boys, of course, on hashtag United naturally. I know probably a lot of what I'll say is not super exciting, but you know, I make do with what I got. Actually, I have a question for you guys. Let me ask this question here. Um, now I guess the question I have is that how do I do that exactly? This uh no. Is this how I do that thing? Let me see if I can that thing. I'm gonna run a poll here. Uh all right, so let me put a small little poll there. So that way it's a little easier to follow. You didn't get the notification. That's kind of weird. You're supposed to be following at the very least. Question mark. There, I put a little poll in the background. I put a poll. If you guys want to have that should be say background, not background. Sorry. You can vote yes or no if you'd like some chill music in the background or something like that. So it's up to you. It's up to you guys. Twitch has come out with a new beta service, so soundtrack beta service. So um, let's see if you can play music in the background and stuff like that without being DMCA'd. Oh, come on. Okay. So I'll just leave that poll up there. If you guys would like music in the background, please go ahead and just hit yes. If you don't, then okay, just say no. Totally up to you, though. I'll come back to the poll here once it is complete. All right. I hope everybody had a good weekend at the very least. So, if you have your calculator here with you today, we're going to be using the calculator here quite heavily here today. So, um, that just depends on how fast this section goes. That's about it. Nothing too crazy. Yeah, I would say it's not like super big full of material, but it's full of material enough. It's full of enough material, I suppose is the best way to put it. Yeah. Okay, vote's almost over. All right, looks like yes won. All right, so let me put up a little bit of music. Not too loud though, believe me. All right. Cool. All right. So there's our small little bits of music here. If it's a little too loud, then I'll probably turn it down a little more. I don't want to make it too intrusive, you know? That's about appropriate. That sound good for turn it up just a little more. There, 10% sounds good. Okay, so let's go ahead and get going here. Okay, let's get started today. Welcome back to Monday. Hopefully, you have a nice weekend. So today we're going to be talking more in section 8.5. Okay, that's fine. You'll do you. I'm going to turn this down a little bit in my ears. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So today what we're going to be talking about here is we're going to talk more about money. More money, more problems, question mark, I don't know. All right, in any case, we're going to be talking about annuities here today, and we'll also be discussing about stocks and other things like that. The stock market's going absolutely bananas today, probably due to the election news and the COVID-19 news, if you haven't heard so already. Um, so the COVID, the COVID stuff there, very, very promising. Very promising news from the COVID perspective, and of course, the election finally finalized over here over this weekend. So that air of uncertainty is now gone from the market. So the markets are reacting very positively here today. We'll be talking about that as well, and some of the basics here. Okay, now today what we're going to be discussing here for the first part is talking about what an annuity is. Now, what exactly is an annuity? Let's discuss that. So, an annuity basically is an account where you deposit money at regular intervals and collect interest along the way. So, the biggest difference here between what we talked about last week with like a regular compound interest is you just deposit money once and then you just collect interest and you just let it sit there. In this case, we're depositing X amount of money, let's say per month. We deposit $200 every month into this account, and then we can accrue some interest here in and along the way. So that's one of the most important things here in this when it comes to this stuff here, is that's the biggest difference. If you're like saying saving, let's say you start a family, you have a child, and of course you want to save for college expenses. When your child turns 17, 18, then you're like, okay, let me put in some money, every month, to put towards college expenses when they get older. So, like a Gerber Grow Up Plan or something to that effect. So that's uh that's one of those things that where annuities can certainly come into play. Now, of course, if we want to find the value of an annuity, or you have basically a goal in mind about how much you want to get out of your account after X amount of time, you can certainly figure that out. And that's what we're going to be looking at here today with a couple of formulas. First and foremost, let's talk about the annuity formula, as this formula here is going to look a little different, but also a little bit familiar from what we discussed here last time. So let's discuss that right now. This not start? Oh, there it is. I was going to say, I'm like, why is this not starting? Okay. Okay, so let's first write down the formula here for annuities, and I do want to be clear about what these letters mean after we write it down. So oh, hang on a second. I got to be a little bit extra careful about this one. Okay, so this is our first formula here, and we'll break down every letter here. So uh, no worries. It seems like a lot, but in all honesty, it is not. So let's take a look at the formula here specifically. My brain. That's okay. Like I said, Fernando, it looks like a lot, but in reality, it actually isn't a lot. So we'll uh, we'll break it down here one piece at a time. Okay. Okay. Now the letters here are going to be exactly the same. So again, I'm going to have A here, which is equal to the ending amount. Okay, so the ending amount here is going to be A. P here is going to be principal. Again, this principal here, though, is going to be slightly a bit different. Unlike what we had last time, the principal here is how much we deposit every period. Okay. So whether that period being, every month, every week, whatever. R here is the interest rate, decimal. Okay. So just as normal here, interest rate in decimal. And N here, if you remember here, is the number of times we compound. Okay. And this time here, of course, it's based on how often we deposit. So if we deposit every month, then of course n's going to be 12. Okay, it's just based on our deposit, kind of sections here. So that's how n works. And then t is time in years. Okay, so there's t. It's time in years. Not so bad. Okay, now let's talk about the next part here. The next part here that we want to discuss is going to reference here, hey, how do we find these values? How do we, well, maybe not how do we find the values, but how do we find like the ending amount given, let's say, all this information. All right, so this is where your calculator is going to certainly come into play, and we're going to go over really slow how to enter this into the calculator, as if you enter this all in at once on the calculator, it's going to be a terrible time. You're going to have very bad times. So let's go ahead and take a look at an example here, and let's see how we can figure out how much money we're going to have an account with a periodic payment. Okay, so let's go with this scenario here. Let's say we deposit $150. Say we deposit $150 every month. Okay, every month we deposit $150. Okay, at an interest rate of, well, let's say it's a realistic interest rate, so maybe 2.5%. So again, a really good rate, 2.5% interest rate. Okay, and let's say the time here in this case will be, let's say, 30 years. Okay, so 30 years. Maybe it's a long-term, retirement account or something like that. You're like, ooh, excuse me, should have eaten this morning. Time year T here is 30 years. Now, one other thing that we can take is that we can also assume what n is. Since n is determined based on how often we deposit, and since we deposit $150 every month, n here is going to be 12. So now we're going to go ahead and fill in the blanks here based on the information we're given. So let's go ahead and copy and paste this bit. Oops. You know what? I'm going to move this down here. That way you guys can see this too. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and fill in the blanks here. Let's do it. All right. See how we can get along. All right. So P here, in this case, what is P in this problem here? What is P going to be here in this problem? All right, $150. Okay, good. $150 a month. So what we're going to put here for P, that's correct, is we're just going to put in straight up 150. Okay, so $150, perfect. Okay, no problem. Okay, next we're going to put in R. What's R going to be? What's R according to our problem here? Okay, very good. That's correct. All right, so correctly put in decimal here, 0.025. All right, spot on. And what's n? N, as we said, was going to be 12. Okay, so we're good there. And we're going to raise that to the, and in parentheses here, we'll put 12 times 30. And we'll subtract that by 1. That's what we have here so far. And then all we have to do is just go ahead and put r over n here. So we're just going to put 0.025 and divide that by 12 once again. Okay. So we have the basic setup here. We have all the numbers in the right places. We have what we want here for, for our information. So that seems just fine. Now, the bigger question is like, okay, well, what do we do? What do we want to do next? Okay, how are we going to figure this all out? Now, like I said before, putting this all in your calculator is going to be a bad time. As you can see, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of floating parts. It gets pretty messy pretty quick. So, what I would like you to do here first is on your calculator, and I'm just, like I said, I'm going to guide you through this one step at a time. Okay. So on your calculator here, does everybody have their calculator out? Again, want to be sure everybody has their calculator. Okay. If you have your calculator out, then good. What I want you to do first on your calculator is do this. So let's going to do what's in the parentheses here. In this case, 0.025 divided by 12. I want you to do 0.025 divided by 12, and you're going to end up with here, like 0.00208, whatever. Now again, I'm not going to round in the middle of the process, okay? Take that answer and add 1 to it. Okay, so take that answer, I'm just going to add 1 to it. Okay, no problem so far. Should be pretty simple. So far on your calculator, this number here should appear on your calculator like it has on mine. Okay, so something akin to this. All right, just like so. Okay, now, next. What we're going to do here is we're going to raise that to the 12 times 30th power. Or you can raise that, hit the caret key here, raise that in parentheses 12 times 30 or 360, since that's 12 times 30. So on your calculator here, you should have this number on your calculator here. Okay, that's what you should have so far. Want to be sure everybody has that number there. Let me know if you got it or not. So just type like got it in the chat there once you have it. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so next what I would like you to do, just subtract 1 from that. Okay, so we're just going to subtract 1. All right. So that's what we have there so far. And then once you've subtracted 1, you're just going to multiply that by 150. So what the answer you should have here after multiplying by 150 is this. 167.3023572. All right, let me know if you have that so far. Just once again, just type "got it" in the chat once you got it. So. And just wait for you, Fernando. Okay, cool. All right. Now, the last part here is you're going to divide. So with that division key there, so you'll have that answer that you see on the screen, the 167. You'll divide it by, and in parentheses, you're going to put 0.025 divided by 12, and then close the parentheses. And then if you have your answer there, go ahead and type out your answer there in the chat. I'm going to quickly grab a drink here. So be right back. Okay. All right. Beautiful. What answer did you get? Okay, good. Okay, excellent. So that indeed is your answer there, 80,305.13. Okay, great. All right, and that is the correct answer for this problem. All right, wonderful. So as you can see here, the way we did this is we kind of piecemealed it together. Again, as I mentioned here before, smushing it all together is very, very troublesome. But when you piecemeal it here together, it may take a little longer, but it will get you consistent answers. And that's really what it's all about. So, yeah, one of those things about calculators, like, hey, yeah, calculators can definitely help you, but don't try and smush it all in at the same time. It's pretty bad. All right. Let's have you guys try another example here. And then this time I'll have you guys figure it out for yourselves. So let's try this here. Let's do another example here. So we're on the right side here. Let's go with $50. $50 every. Let's go with yeah. Let's go with $50 every month. Okay. But if we only deposit $50 every month, our interest rate be a little higher at 5%. Okay. Our time t here is going to be 25 years. So 25-year account, just depositing $50 into that account. All right, and let's go ahead and figure out how much is going to be in our account after 25 years. Let's have you guys give it a try. Okay, you have the formula here. I'll put that up here as well. Or actually, you guys already have it. So it's right there. So there you go. Let's have you give it a try, and then once you have an answer, go ahead and post that in the chat. Well, it's again, that's based. So, good question, Fernando. N here is going to be based on how often you deposit. So, this is $50 per month. So, N indeed would be 12. Yes. So, N may not necessarily be given to you in the problem there, but you can figure that out pretty quick, though. Admittedly, this may take you a few minutes, so that's fine. Hmm, 595.51. It's a little bit too low. Not quite if you're putting in $50 a month for 25 years. You're gonna definitely put in more. 595.51. Okay. Multiply by 150. You're talking about 50 here. For this equation, it'd be 50. There, Fernando. Remember, it's $50 a month. So $50 a month. It's okay. That's fine. That's why we're practicing this problem here. I'll go ahead and set up the problem at the very least. That's one thing I can do. So this is what it should look like at the least. So this is what the problem should look like. All right, 29,775.49. All right. All right, beautiful. What did you get for yours? That's fine. It's you know what? It's fine if it took a while. That's not a big deal. Okay, this process here does take a while because you got to write it down first, and then you got to make sure you put it in correctly in the calculator. So yeah, I perfectly understand that. Let's go ahead and figure this out here. 0.05 divided by 12. I'm going to add 1. Raise that to the 12 times 25 power, whatever that is. Subtract 1. Multiply that by 50. And then you should have gotten like 124.06 something something. Divide that by 0.05 divided by 12. And that is going to be the correct answer there. Our answer here for this one, again with n being equal to 12, as was stated by Fernando before, is 29,000, pardon me, 775.49 would be the correct answer here. Yes. Okay. Very good. Any questions about that so far? Nope. Okay. So what we're going to do next here is we're going to still talk about annuities here, but this time we're going to look at the other side of things. Okay, so what does that mean if we take a look at the quote-unquote other side of things? Well, the other side of things is like, let's say, for example, here you have a particular financial goal in mind, meaning to say, at the end of X amount of years, you want to be sure that in that account that there's going to be X amount of money, okay? So like when you retire, for example, you're like, I want to be sure that this account has, say, $300,000 in it, or kind of whatever. Okay, so $300,000. I want to be sure that I deposit every X amount of money every so often in order to make sure I have $300,000 in that account after X amount of time. Well, that's what this annuity formula here is going to allow us to do, only we're going to make a slight variation to it. Okay, so how do we find out in this case how much, how do we find out how much we have to deposit, say, every month or every year or every 6 months or whatever, to get to our financial goal? So let's talk about that formula here. All right. So the formula here gets modified just a bit, okay? Just basically we move stuff around, and in this case we're no longer finding A, we're now solving for P. So if we do a little bit of algebra with this top equation that you see here on the screen, well, you can do the same here and solve for P. So P here is equal to A times R over N, okay? And we're going to put that over all this stuff in the brackets here. So it's just a different way of looking at this problem here, is that P is equal to A times R over N divided by the quantity 1 plus R over N to the NT power minus 1. Okay, so this is for us to find out, again, let's at least talk about what this does, and put this on the here. Okay, so this, I'll put the above. The above formula finds out how much money we need to deposit at every period interval. Okay, so if basically this is like, okay, if we have to put in X amount of money every month, that's what's our X essentially. So let's look at an example, and let's see, we're going to answer several questions with this next example. So let's take a look at that. Okay. All right. Let's go with that. So let's say our financial goal is, let's go with $1,000,000. Okay, let's say we go with $1,000,000. Okay. It's like, hey, I've always imagined, getting $1,000,000. Be like, okay, fine. Let's say we're given an interest rate, a very, very super generous interest rate of 7.25%. Okay, so let's say super generous interest rate. And our time, we have a lot of time on our hands. So let's say let's say I want to retire here. So 40 years, give us plenty of time to make that $1,000,000 here. Our financial goal is $1,000,000 after 40 years. All right. So, and then also here, we're going to want to do one more thing is we want to deposit money every month, okay? So if we want to deposit money every month, that means n here is equal to 12 here. So we're just going to figure that out in this instance. Okay, so let's go ahead and set up the formula here with these guys in mind, okay? Once again, we're just going to set it up first, okay, before we do anything else. Just about writing it out, setting it up, okay? Writing it out and setting it up. So here we have A, which is 1,000,000. We have 1,000,000 times the quantity. And we have our interest rate of 7.25%. So how do we write 7.25% again? How do we express that there? How do we write 7.25% in decimal? Okay, very good. All right, 0.0725, good. Okay. All right, and we're going to divide that by n, which is 12. And then on the bottom here, let's go ahead and do this bottom part here. All right. Now let's go ahead and fill in these blanks here. Take the n out here, 12. So n is 12 here again. Times 40. Okay. So let's go ahead and see what we get here. Again, we're going to take this in steps here, being very extra careful. Okay. So we're going to do this process here pretty similar to how we did the last process. In fact, what I'm going to do here first is I'm actually going to go ahead and figure out this bottom part here first, okay? I'm actually going to solve the denominator here, and then the reason why I'm going to do that here in particular is because the denominator looks a little bit more complicated to go ahead and do. So that's the big reason why it's like, okay, let's get this out of the way first, and then we'll focus on the easier stuff. So we're going to do this first part here inside the parentheses. We're going to do 0.0725 divided by 12. All right, we're going to get some decimal here, and that's fine, 0.006, whatever. And we'll add 1 to that, just as usual. And whatever we get as the answer, that 1.006, whatever, we're going to raise that to the 12 times 40 power. Again, put 12 times 40 in parentheses. That'll be important. Oh, get that way. Let's put it in parentheses there. All right, there we go. All right, so let's see what we get. We get 18.016 and a whole bunch of other numbers. And now we're going to take that number, we're going to subtract that by 1. Okay? So far on the denominator there, you should have 17.0166046. Okay? I want to be sure that that's what you got for the denominator. Again, just type "got it" in the chat once you have that on your calculator there. All right. Good stuff. Okay. So in this case now, what do we want to do next, now that we got that step ready to go? Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to hit 1 million. We're going to enter in 1 million. Now in parentheses here, we're going to put 0.0725 divided by 12 and close those parentheses. And then what will happen here is you can either divide by the number you see on the screen, the 17.01, if you have a more basic calculator. If you have a graphing calculator, you can go ahead and actually do this immediately. You can hit the second key, and on like a TIA 384, you can hit the second key and you can hit the negative key. That's the key to the left of the enter key. And that will slot in your previous answer that you had from before. You don't have to change it, you have to do anything. But if you don't have that type of calculator, use 17.01. It'll be a lot easier for you. And can anybody give me an answer for this problem? Once you have an answer there, go ahead and post it in the chat. Okay. All right, perfect. You all got it. Nice. All right, Neon's back too. All right, so 355.05 is the correct answer. Very good. So that's how much we would need to deposit every month for 40 years at that particular interest rate to make $1 million at the end of the day. Now, there is a second question to this, okay? So that's not completely the end of the problem, although that's the tough part here, admittingly. So what other question it will ask you here specifically on the homework and other things is, how much money did you make from deposits and how much money did you make from interest? So okay, so let's answer both of these questions here about how much money we made from deposits and how much money we made from interest. So let's talk about deposits here first. We now know for a fact that we have to deposit $355.05 every month to go ahead and get to our $1 million. So we're going to take 355.05. We're going to multiply that by 12 because we're depositing it every month. Okay, and then we're going to multiply that by 40 since we're doing that for 40 straight years. And we're going to figure out how much we get here. Does anybody have an answer for me here? It's got an answer for me here. 355.05 times 12 times 40. All right, good, nice. $170,424. Perfect. So that's how much you made off of the deposits. Okay, that's how much you made off the deposits, just straight up, just putting your own money in. Let's talk about the interest. So the interest here is going to be our financial goal of $1 million, and we're going to subtract that from how much we deposited. So 1 million minus 170,424. All right, and what do we get here for this? All right. See what value you get here. 1,000,000 minus 170,424. Even I think that's not too hard to figure out. All right, 829,576. Nice. Okay, that's correct. Okay, good. Any questions about that so far? All right, no? All right. All right, let's have you guys try one here. So we're gonna, I'll put down a question here. So let's have you guys try this on your own. So let's see, what's our financial goal? Let's have our financial goal be a modest $500,000, at least in comparison to the last one. Let's say we have to deposit. Let's say we have to deposit every quarter. Okay, we have to deposit every quarter. All right. Our interest rate here is given as 6.25, 6.75. Go with 6.75. So 6.75%, and time here will be 30 years. Okay, so you guys tell me how much we need to deposit every quarter in order to reach our financial goal of $500,000 after 30 years with an interest rate of 6.75%. Again, don't forget to use the formula here. We'll go over it together in a couple minutes. So let's go ahead and give it a go. All right, we'll spend a couple minutes with this. All right, go ahead. Once you get your answer there, go ahead and post that in the chat, and then we'll check it together. Okay. Go ahead and set up this problem here at the very least. So let's go ahead and plug in these numbers here where they need to go. Oh. Well, we have 675. Now it's deposited every quarter, so it's going to be 4 instead of 12. So just be careful about that. Threw that little curveball in there, so yeah, change that up to 4 there. We have 4 times 30 here. Okay. All right. And there's the setup for the problem here. Does anybody got an answer for me here? How much should we deposit every month to get our financial goal? Hopefully you guys got this one. Okay, I got 1308.31. All right. And let's see if that's what we got here. 1310.17. Okay, so that's pretty close. So the question I have is, one of those answers is correct. I agree with definitely one of those answers. Did you round in the middle of the process there? Beautiful. Because if you did, then your answer would be off. Yeah, if you rounded in the middle of the process, then that's the problem. You cannot, yeah, you cannot round in the middle of the process. So let's put a note for that here. So note, do not round in the middle, only at the end. 1162.93. All right. So I'm gonna the one of those answers is correct, and that answer is definitely 1308.31 per month is what you should get. Now let's go over this together here and make sure we all can get 1308.31 here. Fernando already got it here, but let's see if we can get you two to actually replicate that. Okay, so first and foremost here, maybe Neon, you accidentally put 12 instead of 4. That could be the case. Remember, it's every quarter here and not every month. So that could be the issue here. It was we have 4 for n as opposed to 12 for n. So here we got 0.0675 divided by 4. Add 1. And then we're going to raise that to the 120th power. We're going to get 7.44 something something. And we don't care, just as long as we can subtract 1 to that. We have 6.4 something something something. Then we're going to have 500,000 times 0.0675 divided by 4. Then we're going to divide by our previous answer here. And indeed, that gets us the 1308.31. All right. Any questions about that? Or hopefully, did you, Neon and Beautiful, did you guys get that answer? I hope so. Yes? Neon? Okay, cool. All right. Great. Perfect. Nice job, guys. Nice job. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. All right. So those are about annuities, okay? Those are about annuities there. Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about here, and the last thing I should say, is we're going to talk about investments. Okay. So in this part here, we're just going to talk about the market and stocks, okay? So let's talk about stocks here first of all. So exactly what is a share of stock? A share of stock is equivalent to a percentage of ownership in a uh, in a uh, in a company. In this case, a publicly traded company. If you say, "Hey, I want to buy one share of Apple stock," okay, you can buy one share of Apple stock, and you can buy it for what $120 or whatever, and you own one piece of Apple. Okay, it's a very small percentage, much, very, very infinitesimally small, but you do own one part of Apple there. Okay, so it doesn't mean that 100% of the company is necessarily publicly traded, though some companies are, but not all companies are necessarily. Okay, it could be like 50% of the company could be put on the stock exchange, and you could be vying for a portion of that 50%. The other 50% could be held by private entities or the original founder, whatever. Okay, there's a lot of different things you could say there in that regard. Okay, now to go along with prices here, we could talk about a few things here in relations to prices. So let's discuss about that here in this instance. I think let's go to a stock here. Why am I blanking out? Stop blanking out. All right. Okay. Let's go to Apple, actually. Yeah, Apple. Google's a little bit too much, so Apple should be fine. All right. All right, here we go. Okay, so let's talk about Apple. All right, so here is Apple. So here's Apple stock. Now, Apple stock has gone up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. Yay! Everybody likes ups and downs, okay? So, but let's talk about what we can see here on Apple, okay? That's because iPhones are terrible things, and you should never buy iPhones like ever. Um, I dislike Apple products very much. So Not an Apple fan, and I never will be. Okay, so let's talk about a few things here. Um, I'll never be an Apple fan ever. Even though my first computer that my family ever got was an Apple IIe back in the days. Looks great, but would never want to buy one. If you ever want to get an iPhone, just don't. It's not worth your time. Just not worth your time. You can do so much better with a better Android phone than you can with an Apple phone. Ten times out of 10. Yeah, an iPhone. Let me put it this way, okay? To An iPhone is basically a phone made for planned obsolescence. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that term. I have a hard time even spelling it. But let's see here. So let me go ahead and put up the definition here of planned obsolescence. This, in a sense, of planned obsolescence is a policy of producing consumer goods that rapidly become obsolete and so requiring replacing, achieved by frequent changes in design, termination of the supply of spare parts, and the use of non-durable materials. So this is what Apple does. This is Apple's business strategy. All revolves around these two words right here. Think about it for just a second. Let's say you drop your iPhone. And it doesn't matter what type of iPhone it is. It could be iPhone 10, it could be iPhone 9, it could be whatever. It doesn't matter. But let's say you drop it and the screen cracks or something goes wrong because, this is just an accident. Well, where do you go to get it fixed? Can you go to a third party vendor and get your iPhone fixed? No. You're forced. You're going to be forced to go and go to the Apple store and go to their, quote unquote Genius Bar. You have to go there. You can't go to a third party vendor to go get it fixed. They own all the proprietary rights to the parts. So it's like, well, you can't go here and you can't go there. You're not allowed to go there. If you're lucky that you can get the screen fix from a random shop because Apple they try and build it in such a way where you can't go and get it fixed from another place. They try and force you to go get another phone. Now, they've been caught doing this by AKA slowing down your phone with software that basically bloats your software to slow down your phone on previous iPhone versions, therefore forcing you to go ahead and sell to get the newest version. Again, shady tactics are shady. Okay, so this isn't, even if you get your physical hardware, all replaced out, they'll figure out a way. Yeah, so they've it's not surprising that they employ tactics where they slow down your phone intentionally, even though it has enough power to go ahead and probably run OS X without too much trouble. But yeah, they intentionally slow that down so that way they try and goad you into getting a new phone. That's what planned obsolescence does. And think about how much you spent, Fernando, on the last phone. On the last phone, you must have spent, close to, I don't know how much you spent, maybe $1,000. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, they're not cheap. I mean, we know that Apple phones are not cheap. They're definitely not cheap. I mean, heck, you could get 3 Chromebooks for the price of one iPhone. I mean, that's crazy when you think about it, right? So, I mean, it's absolutely crazy. So, it's that's the thing about Apple products to me. Is like it's just it. Yeah, that's the shady part there. That's why, like my phone is a OnePlus, okay, which is one of the leading brands on the market now. Is a OnePlus Android phone. Now, will this slow down over time? Sure, this thing could slow down over time. And my first iPhone did slow. My first not iPhone, my first OnePlus phone slowed down. It was a OnePlus 2. It was like a second generation phone, but it was like 5 years old by the time I replaced it. 4 or 5 years old. I was like, okay, you slow down because software got bigger, operating systems for Android got bigger and better. So it's like, okay, you require much more processing power to use it. But 4 or 5 years for a phone that essentially didn't, what did it cost me? Like at that time, $300. 4 or 5 years for $300 with the same exact phone is really good. I got a great return of investment. I mean, when you think about it, right? So I could think about it this way. I spent like $60 a year on the phone. Or I could spend $1,100 a year every single year replacing my phone. I mean, that's the difference there. That's the key difference. You could do what you want with your money. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money, but I'm telling you what the difference is. That's the difference. I mean make a consideration there, Fernando. Make a consideration that maybe your next phone needs to be an Android because it's maybe just eating you out of house and home. Because iPhone 12 is going to be iPhone 12's here. Okay, fine. Well then, what the next one's iPhone 13 or whatever you want to call it, the X double three, X triple three or whatever. Don't matter to me. All right, but it's still going to be equally as expensive and equally as absurd. So, I mean, how much of that function? How many of those functions do you use, and do you need all of that functions? Not only did iPhone 12 come out at a bad time, I agree, but the worst part about it is that again, do people have the money anymore? COVID hit, and now even COVID crisis hopefully starting to come to a close. I hope so. I'm crossing my fingers, and toes and everything like that. Is it is it ever going to be worth it? I mean, it's just maybe just way and incredibly way too much money to actually do anything with. So I would say no. Your return on investment should be better. That's I guess that's my point. When you buy something, you should have good return on investment. So that's what I look for when it comes to like things that I want to buy. And the same thing I do with stocks. Stocks are the same thing. You should get a good return on investment out of a stock. Like Apple, the company, even if I don't want to buy their product, Apple, the stock, the company is still in great shape. Okay. Yes, it may not be doing so well now, but Apple's a pretty solid company, regardless of what I like to say or do. All right. Now we can see that there's several things here in Apple that we can met out. First of all, we can see the 52-week low and 52-week high. So this is basically like the 1-year low, 1-year high of price. So 52-week low and high. So the lowest and highest prices in a 1-year period. Okay, so the lowest price that you can see is that Apple stock. You could buy a share for $53.15, and that the highest price per share is $137.98. Okay, so then you can compare to where the price is now compared to their high or low, and you can see exactly what you're working with. Now, other things that you can see here is your market cap. This part here. This is what we call our market cap for a stock. So market cap basically says, on paper, how much is Apple worth in terms of their stock price times the number of shares that they're selling. So basically this is stock price times the number of outstanding shares. So in this case here, the value of Apple for the number of shares that they put on the market here is worth over $2 trillion. Okay, so Apple by itself is a company that is worth $2 trillion. Think about that. That's quite remarkable, right? $2 trillion for a company like that. Pretty big. All right. Next is the PE ratio. The The PE ratio talks about the price. This is what we call the price to earnings ratio. So the price to earnings ratio talks about yesterday's closing price and your annual earnings per share. Yeah, right? So this is basically price of stock yesterday at close divided by annual earnings per share. The annual earnings per share is just basically the annual earnings per share is just talking about their actual amount of money, like how much money that they actually make in profit. Okay, things like that are fairly important. So how much did you make in profit? And how many shares do you have outstanding? You can factor in your earnings per share that way. That's a lot of accounting stuff that they announce every quarter. So you can actually get that without too much trouble. So if you have a PE ratio of above 1, that means you're trading above. Yeah, that means you're trading above 100% of what your stock is actually worth, your fair value of your stock. So if I see here the PE ratio is 36.22. So what does that mean? That means that Apple is trading at 36 times the fair value of the stock. But the reason why it trades at such a ridiculously high value PE ratio is because a lot of people do have faith in Apple being a very strong and steady company. So investors really like that a lot. This next one here that you see is dividend yield. So let's talk about that here. So let's talk about dividend. Now, what does dividend mean? Dividend means is the amount of money each shareholder gets for each share of stock they own. So there are a lot of companies that have a dividend, i.e., they kind of share their profits. Okay, so it's like usually from profits. Okay, all right. So if you're a company, you're a solid company, then you could share in the profits that you gain every year. Now, if you share in the profits that you gain every year, all right, you want to show the investors of saying, hey, you know what? I value the fact that you're loyal to the company, and we want to make sure we pay you back with some, with the share of our profits. Now, it's not a lot. Okay, we're not talking a ton of money here for every single share that you own. But let's say you own one share of Apple, and they say in a press release, they're like, okay, if you own a share by this day, we're going to give you $2 for every share that you own. So if you own $100 shares of Apple stock, for example, then you'll get an extra $200 once the dividend day comes by. So you'll get that extra $200 as a way to, say, hey, thank you for being loyal. Come and stick around with our company. You'll get good return investments by holding on to this stock long term. Okay, thank you very much. So dividends are there to satisfy investors quite often. Okay, and are very very basically is a nice public PR move for a lot of companies who like to go down that route. Not every company offers a dividend. Okay, so I do understand that, but there are lots of financial instruments that do revolve around dividends. So it's not a ton of money, but you can there are places that certainly just trade in stocks that have dividends only. So whatever the case may be. All right. Other things as you see the opening, you see the high and the low. Again, open is going to be the stock price as it opened today. High is the high price for the day, not for the year, but for the day. Low is the lowest price for the day. Okay, so right now it's hovering toward the low end right here, as you can tell. 118.20 seems to be the low, so Right now it's hovering toward the low end here. Looks like even going further down, but yeah, you get the general idea. Actually, maybe I should bring up another chart here. Okay, so you can see here, this is a line chart. Okay, red going down. These are candlestick charts. Red going down, green going up here. This is updated every minute or so. But yeah, this is like the general gist of the stock for today. Okay, so went up today when the market was booming, and then of course the sell-off kind of started here because, well, the market's kind of settling down here. So investors are starting to take their profits. Once it gets up too high, people are like, yeah, it's time to take some money back. So they're pretty common stuff for that stuff. So no problem. All right, and then what you see here for this is, as you can see here on the very top here, you can see the price of the stock. So let me go back here for just a second. I'll go back to the previous one here. There you can see like the price is down 40 cents. So that's the net change. They call that the net change there. So net change is the current uh, current change in price from the opening. Okay, so from the open, so pretty simple stuff there. No problem. Okay, good stuff. There's also, I don't know if that's listed here necessarily. Sometimes it is and sometimes it's not. The volume here, if you want to see the volume is how many shares have been traded in a single day. So volume. Okay, so if you see volume there, then that's what it reflects. All right, cool. Any questions about stocks and whatnot? It's not hard. It's just, just have to be able to read a lot of it. That's all. Symbols and whatnot. AAPL for Apple. Okay, if you want to see Amazon, you can see Amazon. Amazon's a pretty big stock there. I'll show you. I'll show you some here. So Amazon's a very famous stock. Everybody knows Amazon. So how's Amazon go? So here's Amazon stock today. Amazon is worth $1 bazillion and then some. So um, so Amazon's worth, let's see, Amazon is down today. Not by a lot, though. Usually Amazon swings in very, very volatile. So Amazon is a pretty volatile stock, I'll admit. You can go up and down like hundreds of dollars with Amazon. It's crazy. Amazon's absolutely bananas. Let's see here. Tesla. Everybody's heard of Tesla with Elon Musk and the whole 9 yards. So this is today's. Tesla went up to like 400 bucks. It was pretty, or 450. Dang, shoot, wow. It was up at $450, and then it kind of whittled itself back down to 428. Pretty common for Tesla to hit 450 and then come back down. So yeah, I can see those candlesticks starting to go up, and then you gotta refill that gap by quite a bit. So yep, that makes sense to me. All right. All right, but there's a lot of things that you can do, of course, to have that happen. So, all right, any questions about stocks? This is about like a basic understanding of stocks. So, all righty, no questions. All right. So that's the end of section 8.5. All right, so that's the end of section 8.5. All right, that's what we're going to be doing here. That's what we're done here with for today. And next time we're going to be going over we're going to skip section 8.6 and we're going to talk about 8.7, okay, which is talking about mortgages. Okay, so we're going to talk about mortgages here for next time, okay? That's what's next on the docket here. All right. Great job, everybody, here today. I really appreciate you coming out here once again for the stream. All right. And I will see you all on Wednesday, same time, same place. Okay, everybody? All right. I know there's a bit of delay there. All right. So, thank you. Thank you. You have a wonderful day as well. All right, everybody. Have yourself a very wonderful day. We're going to see you all later.